It's about time, it's about time. Well, hello and welcome to this week's vlog. Thank you so much for your great dog name suggestions for book 7. If you remember, I asked you to name the dog of Anna's neighbour Jonah, who originally comes from Yorkshire. And there were loads of fantastic suggestions. Unfortunately, there can only be one winner. And so the winner that I've chosen is Meriel Flint, who's at Mezabel on Twitter. Hi Meriel, thank you very, very much for your suggestion. She suggested Bennett after Alan Bennett because of the Yorkshire heritage, and I love that. So I'm going to have great fun writing about Bennett the dog from this week on. That means that your name's going to appear in the acknowledgements of book 7, which is out at the end of next year, and your suggestion's going to appear in the story, so you've actually helped to create the story of book 7. Now, don't worry if I didn't use your suggestion this week. I have a really great opportunity. I'm not setting you a challenge. All I'm asking you to do is to tell me why you should appear as a character in book 7 next year. Now, this is very special. I don't do this very often at all, but I want you to tell me why I should put you in. I will actually put a character with your name, and we'll get in contact and we'll work out a little story for your character for the book that's coming out next year. So all you need to do is tweet me using the hashtag GetInvolved, or you can leave me a message underneath the Facebook post that this video appears in. You can leave me a message, a comment on my blog, comment on YouTube. I'm running out of all the things that I've got to do. Or you can email me at mirandawordy@gmail.com and tell me why you should appear in my next book. It's very exciting. I hope that you're excited too. And so, yes, get your suggestions in, tell me why, and I will tell you next time who's won. So have fun with that one. Now, I've got one question. And then I've also got a cheeky extract from I'll Take New York, which is out this year. This book, it's all done, it's all ready. And if you were watching Twitter and Facebook this week, you'll have seen we had the big cover reveal. I love it. I'm so chuffed to bits. It's going to look fantastic, particularly in paperback. Now, you know I'm a big fan of actual books. I love ebooks, but I love actual books. And it's going to look fantastic because it's going to have gold sparkly stars. It's just going to be amazing. Thank you so much for all your lovely comments as well. I'm really pleased that you like it. So I have a cheeky extract from book 6, which is I'll Take New York. It's actually available to pre-order now. It comes out on the 4th of December. Everything comes out. Audiobook, paperback and ebook all come out on the 4th of December. So just before Christmas. It's quite late this year, but it means it's perfect for Christmas present. And if you need to buy a Christmas present for yourself, perfect. I'll put all the links on the blog so you know where to get to, but I'm going to read you an extract from it. So here we go. That evening, Bea sat alone in her cosy apartment in the Borum Hill neighbourhood of Brooklyn. To the casual observer, the only differences between her business and her home were a few more chairs, a kitchen sink and a bedroom. The rest of the space being devoted to books. Russ jokingly referred to Bea's apartment as a flat share arrangement. It's nice of the books to let you stay. Do they charge you reasonable rent? Bea smiled now as she sipped a large mug of hot chocolate and ran her fingers along the spines of her books. Since ending her relationship with Otis, she found she was enjoying being alone. The days following the awful family dinner had given her time to reflect on her recent life, and what she'd seen hadn't been pretty. She realised she'd become so focused on tackling potential problems Otis could cause that she'd been neglecting her own life. She'd been a firefighter rather than the trailblazer she wanted to be. That was going to change. Bea couldn't remember the last time she'd been able to think only of herself. Between her final year of university and the start of this week, she had lurched from one doomed relationship to another, with barely time to catch her breath in between. On one hand, it proved she was a woman in demand, as Stuart had often said, but the problem was the kind of men lining up to date her. She caught sight of her reflection in the vintage mirror she'd bought last year from Brooklyn Flea Market. Well, no more, she told herself. From now on, it's all about me. She meant it too. Why should her life revolve around relationships? Who wrote that rule anyway? More than anything, Bea wanted to be known for who she was, what she could achieve. Placing her responsibility for her happiness on somebody else was only going to lead to more heartache. Her family might have the monopoly on successful relationships, but she didn't have to join them. It was her time to be whoever she wanted to be. And right now, she wanted to be happy being herself. Her reflection stared back, singularly unconvinced. Otis Green still had a heavy hold on her heart. She let out a sigh. Clearly this was going to take some getting used to. So there you go. Bea tells her very unreliable boyfriend Otis at the beginning of the novel that she doesn't want to be with him anymore, and she makes a decision that she's had enough of relationships. Her life can be so much more than just who she's dating or who she'd like to date or whether she'll be happy. And so she's made that decision, and that's a really important decision because she's going to go to a party in a few chapters from there and it's all going to be challenged. So there we go. I hope you enjoyed that. Now I've got one question and then I'm done. It's from at Katie Not Wed or Dead on Twitter. Hi Katie, thank you very much for your question. It's a really good question. She says, how do you get to know your characters as you write them to find their own voice? Those of you who've watched my blog for a long time will know that I adore writing the first draft because it's before anyone else gets to read it. It's kind of my story. I get to discover it as I'm writing it. It's not necessarily perfect. In fact, it very, very rarely is perfect, but it's getting my ideas down. It's getting the gist of the story. And I find that some characters, their voice is there straight away. And I found that with Jake in I'll Take New York. It's written from both Bea and Jake's perspective, so you have a chapter from Bea and a chapter from Jake, and it carries on like that all the way through the book, so you can kind of see what's happening from two sides. It's the first time I've written something like that and I really enjoyed writing that. And funnily enough, Jake's voice actually came quicker than Bea's. Bea was quite a complex character to write, and she was someone who kind of I got to know as I wrote the first draft, and by the time I got to the end of the first draft I knew who she was. Jake, straight away I knew who he was, and it's quite interesting because he's Ed Steinman's brother from Fairy Tale of New York, and when I wrote Fairy Tale, Ed was only ever supposed to be a minor character, and by the end of his first appearance, in the first chapter that he appeared in, he was a main character, and I knew straight away that he was a main character. I could hear his voice, I could see what he looked like, and it's kind of been very much the same with Jake. It's actually been really nice to write a male character because you don't get the chance to do that very often, and particularly not in women's fiction. So I really enjoyed doing that. So sometimes it takes a while. I just kind of feel like I have to hang out with them, so sometimes I'll write scenes that don't appear in the book. But it's almost like hanging out with new people, you know, when you make new friends, you have to spend time with them to get to know them. And sometimes it's an immediate connection, and sometimes it takes time to develop that sort of relationship with them. So I hope that answers your question, but that's sort of how I find the voice of the characters. I do find, like I say, I have found with I'll Take New York that Jake came very quickly, and I had to kind of work to get to know Bea. Because she's quite different from Nell in Take a Look at Me Now, or any of my other female characters actually. She's very driven in her work life and in every other aspect apart from relationships, and relationships are kind of her Achilles heel. So it's quite nice to kind of get to know her. I had to sort of hang out with her and really think about her backstory, which I don't always do for every character, but for her I had to do that to sort of unlock her character. So I hope that answers your question. There we go, that's it for this week. Now, I'd love to know what you think about the cover. If you haven't seen the cover of I'll Take New York, I will put it on the blog post that accompanies this video. I'd love to know what you think. I've had some lovely comments so far, and it's been really nice. Will it be on your Christmas list? I do hope so. So get your get involved suggestions in. Tell me why you should be a character in my book. And like I say, I don't do this every year, so this is quite unusual, but I just figured it would be really nice. A nice way to say thank you for your support. I actually really appreciate your support every week. I love the questions that you've got. If you've got one to know question, you know what you have to do. Just ask me a question on Twitter, on Facebook, on my blog, on YouTube. You can email me mirandawordy@gmail.com. I love answering your questions. I love hearing how excited you are for the books. And so I hope that as we get closer and I keep giving you more little snippets and you keep hearing all this stuff, that you get very excited. And that I will be able to thank one of you personally by putting you in book 7. So there we go. Have a great week, and I'll see you soon. Bye. It's about time, it's about